Oh, how would you go about recruiting a powerful stakeholder to back the Scrum team? Now, this is a tricky one. This is one of the things that I actually really enjoy when I get involved in the workings of a client is how do you get the right person to support your team? Okay? And it's going to change. Each stakeholder is different. Each client organization is different. Yours is different to any that I've worked with. So I can talk specifics, but actually the general is more useful. And one of the times we had exactly this problem. We had some really successful Agile initiatives going on. And the question became, how do we get endorsement from senior leaders? How do we get them involved so that they want to remove some of the problems that we're facing? And it was a really difficult question to solve because the people that I was working with weren't the senior leaders and didn't really have great access to them. So they tried some stuff, and where most people start is training. Oh, well, we need to make people more aware of this Agile thing. So we're going to run some Agile awareness courses. We're going to run some Agile leadership courses. Okay, and great. People became more aware of Agile. But the stakeholders didn't join in. They didn't get involved in helping teams do what it was we wanted the teams to do. And so we took a step back. And we said, okay, running training courses doesn't work. And to be clear, I've never seen it work. I've seen it a lot. But I've never seen it work because the one thing that I believe is missing from most of these things is explaining to those stakeholders, those very senior, very busy people, what it is they get out of it. Okay? So we took that question. Why don't they engage? Not how do we engage them, but why don't they engage in this type of work? Okay? And it raised a whole load of new and interesting questions. And the way that we started to craft it was using a thing called a causal loop diagram. So we looked at the center of the problem, which was we're not getting stakeholders engaged in Agile work. And lots of variables at play, lots of things that could go up and down, lots of connections between them. If you've not looked at causal loop diagramming, I'd heartily recommend it, though maybe not when you're tired, because it's a bit of a head twist. The first time you look at it. But we sat there and we mapped out what are all the things at play. And we ended up filling this huge whiteboard with stickies, with individual things. Satisfaction, goal setting, all these things were incorporated in some way, shape or form. And what we ended up with was some things that were completely disconnected from Agile. And really what was driving a lot of those leaders in a highly political organisation was promotion. And we formulated a hypothesis. If we could help some people get promoted through being recognised as part of the Agile initiative, being the senior stakeholders to provide that support, that overhead cover, whatever it is they needed, then others would want to get involved. And the way to do that is to give them the evidence that they have been involved in and directly impacted the success of the business through the delivery of the project work or the new products or whatever. So this was the hypothesis that was formed as a team, and it took us several hours of working to end up there. And so, okay, well, who do we know? And fair enough. We knew a man who knew a man. And we knew somebody who was applying for a promotion, quite a senior person in the business, applying for the next level up, and they had to demonstrate a breadth of influence on the organisation that we thought they did have, we thought they were quite capable of doing, but it never hurts to have more evidence to support you. So we brought it to them. It was a short conversation, but it was quite a strange conversation, to be honest, because we turned up and said, we've got this project. It's doing really well. Okay? But what it doesn't have is a senior sponsor. And we think it'd be really useful if it did have, and you're the kind of person that we would love to be sponsoring it. It's all working. Very little work for you to be involved in. Okay, you're going to have to turn up to some meetings. We'll bring you up to speed. We'll let you know. If anything does go wrong, we'd love you to go to the plate and bat for us. But we don't expect it to. And he unsurprisingly said yes, because we were handing him a bunch of evidence that would support his ambitions for minimal work. And he took that to the board for promotion. He presented it, and don't get me wrong, we didn't hand it and just walk straight to the board. He did work with us, he understood what we were doing, and he was very, very useful to the endeavours of that product. But he did it because he got something, he got that additional evidence. What we actually found was unintended. He took it into that board for promotion. He talked them through the project and how this Agile thing worked. And they admitted it was a very helpful thing. It was great that he'd been involved in it. And then they, the 3 members of the board who were the interview panel, they came and talked to us. Is there any way we could be involved in this stuff? Is there any of this stuff that we could help with? They were actively seeking ways to differentiate themselves in the business from an interview of somebody who used it to differentiate themselves. So for me, that is one of the great examples. It was indirect. There was no way, if we just sat down and thought about it, or asked people, they'd have said, you know what you need to do to get Agile projects, programs, products supported? What you need to do is support somebody in their promotion. They would have said, more training, get some consultants in, read a book, whatever the current answers are. But we took a very different tactic. We sat down and we tried to understand the business. How does it work? What motivates people? And from that, I bubbled this answer. And there were some very beneficial conditions, because not only did we have one person who was now actively engaged, but we had many, and we had them talking about it at a level at which the Agile coaches didn't really get to operate. So those senior leaders became our advocates. We certainly had the person who we'd supported their promotion by all. They definitely deserved it. They'd done a lot of work for it, but it didn't hurt having us in their camp. They were an active advocate because they'd seen the benefit of it to them, to their careers. And the people that they'd been interviewed by and others started talking about it and talking to us. And over a few months, where we'd really struggled over the prior years to get involvement, over the next few months, we suddenly had more people involved and wanting to be involved than we could actually usefully use. So if you're looking to engage senior stakeholders to give your teams, your products, your projects support, try and work out what is it that they need and how can you deliver that. If you've got to this point in the video, I hope you've enjoyed it. If so, a like would be appreciated. If you want to hear more from me, more answers to questions that maybe you've got in the Agile world, please subscribe to the channel. And if you've got a question that you really want answered, drop it in the comments. I promise we'll get around to it. Thank you.